that when I first started practicing, the physical practice of yoga, when I first started doing that, and I saw people, namely women, do things, I was like, there's no way I would be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to touch my toes. There's just no way that I'll be able to do that.
And now look what you can do.
What can I do?
You can touch your toes.
Yeah, I can. That's true.
You can put his leg behind his head.
Right, that's true too. Yeah.
As a general rule, our whole culture is disconnected from their body, and I think maybe men a little more so. It's pretty common when I've asked my male friends, colleagues, acquaintances to come and try out a yoga class, and I might even invite them to come as my guest because I know men can be a really hard sell. This is their universal response to that. Say it with me if you want.
Yeah.
Say, I'm not flexible enough.
Yeah.
I'm not flexible enough for yoga. And we go back and we tell our female students this is what our male friends and acquaintances are saying, and they go, duh, that's why they should come to yoga, which is why they should come to yoga. Show up as you are, and we will help you open up your joints, refresh and tone your muscles, get stronger, get the energy flowing so your body can heal itself.
Yeah. If I say yoga to someone and they don't know what it is, if they're a man, they might have visualized a person, probably a woman with her, like her legs behind her head, or doing Hanumanasana, like a full split or something, and then that's what they see, and they're like, I can't do that, so I can't do yoga.
Hold myself up into a pretzel. I
can't do that. Yeah.
First thing I want them to know is this is not a competition. It's not a sport in the sense that we're trying to get better than somebody else, and there's no winner. That may show up internally with some folks, but that's not the tone that we're setting, and that's not it's not the experience we want men to have. It's more one of relaxation.
I think for me, it's really important work to be doing, for men to be doing, and I think that it's severely lacking, and I think that men are very fearful because it is such a female-dominated practice in the United States, and so I think that a lot of men are apprehensive because they see only the superficialities. They see just the asana, and they see that women are more flexible and potentially stronger than they are in some facets, and I think that men become apprehensive and maybe don't want to tune into or disregard the benefits because their fear sort of overrides that.
So what happens when you have a room full of just men in a yoga studio, which is basically an empty room, with a few mats and cushions around for comfort, that you've removed all of the distractions, the things that men normally would be competitive over. I'm just going to come out and say it. I believe that men seek the approval, the acceptance of women. We are, at some level of our being, deathly afraid of being rejected by women. So when there is a mixed gender class, that is men and women together, doesn't matter whether the men are straight, gay, bisexual, there's this inherent competitiveness that arises in our being, and we start competing for the attention of, or the acceptance of, the approval of whatever woman happens to be in the room. When you remove that element, that is, remove the women, so to speak, from the classroom, something very interesting happens. There's this drop in the intensity in the room. Men start to laugh more. They're more relaxed. They're no longer operating from that primal energy of competition. And they start to be able to turn focus inward, begin to notice their own breathing, notice the sensations, the emotions that might be arising, and to enjoy what I would call a very deep practice. And some of us that are in at early ages to really disregard our physical comfort in favor of achieving some external goal. You know, sports is an obvious one where you just throw your body into sports and try to achieve the goal, score the points, whatever you're trying to do in that particular sport. And don't worry about injuries. It's really a good thing if you get injured in the line of duty. It's sort of analogous to wartime. You know, you get a medal for getting injured. So men, we learn at an early age to cut off from our bodies. And yoga is a way to reawaken our sensitivity and our connection to our bodies. And there is a whole lot of value in that.
Yeah. Stress reduction is
Stress
an obvious
reduction.
one, yeah.
And what happens when the stress is gone? We start to feel lighter.
Mm-hmm.
We actually start to feel more emotions
Mm-hmm.
instead of just being numb. That's the way I spent probably the first 35 years of my life, pretty numb. So starting to actually taste life again, feel the juiciness of life again.
I think feeling emotion and not running from it, even the ones that are difficult, it becomes easier to sit with the sensation of the difficult emotions when you start to feel that lightness, you know?
Somebody watching this is going to ask, why would I want to sit with a difficult emotion? Why would I want to sit with anger or sadness or loneliness or fear? And that's a big question.
That's a big question. I don't know.
And you do.
I do know. Yeah, I would say because it's the experience of life in its fullness, and then not wanting to shy away from something just because it seems difficult, or it can be potentially uncomfortable or painful even, but just to be able to have the experience of it because it's a facet of life, and so experiencing life in a full capacity as opposed to just picking and choosing what the things that are pleasurable,
So in doing that, when we can sit with anger or sadness or loneliness or fear, we're expanding our perspective on who we are. We are remembering that we are much more vast than we think we are. And that's really the spiritual journey as far as I'm concerned. We're remembering ourselves as soul. And when we do that, we're also able to connect with source wisdom or deep intuition, deep knowing, felt knowing. One of the ways I look at it is that when you have just men in a room, it's a rare opportunity to have men get to know each other in a way that doesn't have anything to do with the stereotypes that they've been told they have to live out or live into. With yoga practice, being led in simple physical movements and being reminded to breathe, men start to laugh. We start to laugh together because the armor's down, and instead of thinking I've got to compete with this guy, I recognize myself in him, and there's this wonderful heartfelt joy and laughter that happens when it's all the same gender, all men practicing together. It's a beautiful thing.
It almost seems paradoxical in some ways because you're able to resonate with another individual, another man, another human being, and see them as not separate from you, but as part of just, a whole. There's no distinction between the two of you. But in turn, what that does is it allows you to go deeper inward and look at yourself and get to this place of self-reflection, So it's like through the connection, through feeling like you're not separate from these other people that are part of this group, this unit. Exactly. It helps us on our own individual paths.
Learning how to listen to their bodies again, make friends with their bodies again. To start where they're starting from. Start with what you're walking into the room with, and it's our job to support you in moving gently from there.
So I guess just being able to allowing men to come to class just to say, to feel, to tap into the internal experience as opposed to being overly concerned with the external manifestation of it is,
So a quick example or an illustration of what you're talking about is I've had a lot of men, or a good number of men in class, and they might be in some sort of pose like this, and I can see they're kind of working hard in their face, and I'll come over and they might look up at me and they say, "How's this? How am I doing? How's it look?"
Yeah, how's it look? Yeah.
And so, our answer as yoga teachers, if we're really doing our job well, is, well, how does it feel? We ask them, how's it feeling? And get the answer, well, okay. A little tight in my shoulder, my neck, though. Kind of wrenching my neck. So now it's our job, now that we've got the information, to invite this guy to back off because he's obviously straining. And we're really inviting him to love his body again, to not continue or not to perpetuate the pain and suffering that he's been foisting upon his body for a lifetime. So how about if you lowered this arm?
Foisting?
And it's a good word. Google it. Let your head drop. Can you get a little more comfortable in the pose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about exploration.
No, I'm talking about foisting. Yes, exploration.
And I've heard of Faust, but that's
I've never used the word
right?
in my life before. It just popped into my head.
It's a good one.
It's a chance to use foist.
Yeah. Well, you were saying me with my constitution.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's similar.
To force upon oneself, to foist it upon. I'm going to have to Google it.
No, that's good. No, that's a good. I think it's good. It worked in the moment. But that's exploration, is what you're talking about, and I think that's like
compassionate exploration.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a great way. I think Jim was talking about it before with the sort of the laughter component, which I think is huge, because we sort of lose it, especially when we go into you go into like a yoga class where there's there's a studio that is is ultra serious or something, you know what I mean, and the practice in and of itself is a serious practice. It can be profound for people. It's profound for me, but at the same time, like there's a little bit of levity that you can add to it and have that element of play, to be like we were when we were children, to go back to that.
Yeah. Yoga is far too important to take seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. It's true. No, it's so true.
You're talking about exploration.
No, I'm talking about foisting. Yes, exploration.
I've heard of Faust, but
I've never used the word in my
right?
life before.
Yeah.
It just popped into my
That's a
head.
good one,
It's
yeah.
a chance to use foist.
Yeah.